Let's call to order our Sherburne County Board meeting of October 19th to order. Please rise for a moment of silence and the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a proposed meeting agenda before us. If there are no deletions or additions, yes.
Thank you, Chair Danielewski, members of the commission. With the commission's permission, we would like to amend item 2.3, which is to consider approval of a joint powers agreement with Orac Township for prosecution of township public safety ordinances, to also include approval and authorization to execute the same agreement with Blue Hill Township, Clear Lake Township, and Santiago Township. So if the board is amenable, item 2.3 would be to approve those agreements for Orac, Blue Hill, Clear Lake, and Santiago.
Okay.
Are you going to remove it from the consent agenda and do that, or do you plan on doing that right within the consent agenda?
Whatever the board's preference is, I think if we amend the consent, you can do them, but if you'd like discussion, we can separate them.
Fine.
Is what? 2, 3. Oh, you're right. Okay. Just brought to my attention on the consent agenda that there are 2 number 3s.
And we'll make this one 3.5 then, and the
Okay.
first one 3.0. That was that glitch that some of you heard about with software, so sorry about that.
All right, so Kathy, is that okay if we just amend it and keep it on the consent agenda?
That would be wonderful. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, so we're good with just amending the consent agenda and keeping it that way. All right, sounds good. All right, then with that change on the consent agenda, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner Brandt,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan.
This is the agenda?
Correct.
Yes, yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on now to our consent agenda. Looking then for a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended for number 3.5 with the addition of Blue Hill, Clear Lake, and Santiago Township to the joint powers agreement, along with Orac Township.
I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on to announcements. Mr. Meslet, what do we have for announcements?
Thank you, Chair Danielewski, members of the commission. Just a few quick announcements. First of all, if you noticed, a lot of the roofing equipment and material has been removed. They are wrapping up that project for the season. Overall, I think things went pretty well and the disruption wasn't too bad. Second of all, if you noticed coming in, the floor finally got completed in front of the boardroom here. They worked over the weekend to put the last coat on. It's good timing because in the main lobby, we'll now be putting in the winter mats, so then we have less risk of those slips, trips, and falls. Third, just to note that we did complete the land sale yesterday for the property in Zimmerman, so that went through. That was that parcel, in front of the fire station that was in question. Number 4 is just a note on the agenda highlighting Thursday we have the EDA meeting, and then next Monday we are hosting the AMC District 5 meeting here. Commissioner Schmiesing is chair of that, so we'll get things set up. We're going to be using Maple. AMC has requested that it not be a hybrid meeting, so everything is in person, but they've also requested 1 person per table. So we'll be maximizing Maple, and then if need be, we'll actually be overflowing in either the EOC or in here, and then we'll just do a closed stream to one of those 2 meetings, and that's simply if we get over about 40 people for max capacity in that room. So we are posting it as a potential or a quorum of the board, so if all of you are attending, just let Keisha and I know, and we'll make sure that we handle that right. And then finally, did receive word late yesterday afternoon, the federal lobbyist is recommending that we consider the fly-in sometime during the next several weeks, and so I'll be contacting Andrew, and I believe the chair was the one who was going to fly out to DC and pitch our road project out there in person. So I'll be working on that and getting that available. If anybody else is interested joining, just let me know, and we'll see what we can put together.
Any other announcements then? All right. Okay, at this time then, we will move on to item number 4.1 on our agenda, the public hearing to consider revisions of all services and fee schedule. And at this time, and who is, Bruce, you're taking this one?
I can, or Dan, did you want to do it, or what's your preference?
Your name is on it.
So yes, annually we put together the fee schedule for the board's consideration. This one had, I don't want to say a lot of changes, but we did go through with pretty intentional scrub. In particular, Lynn did an amazing job of going through all of the planning and zoning department fees. There were a few that were removed or changed, and then we updated a few. She did do a survey of other counties to make sure that we're not higher or lower than those. And I think if you have any questions, we can answer them specifically. But generally speaking, it's consistent with the budget direction that you've provided, and I think we've updated them so they will be in good shape for next year.
Any questions for Bruce on the fee schedule changes?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just to clarify, the fees that we charge are supposed to be commensurate with the cost that it is for us to provide them. So if we're in error on that, that certainly can be brought up by one of our consumers at any time.
Yep. Yep, most definitely.
That's correct, and some of the departments actually have to submit them for actual state review for that very purpose.
Yeah, they keep an eye to make sure these are not money-making ventures by any means. Covering the cost is what it is. Any other questions? All right, at this time then, I would be opening the public hearing to consider the revisions of all services and fee schedule. Anybody wishing to address this at the public hearing, please rise, go to the podium, state your name. Second call. Anybody wishing to speak to the revisions of our services and fee schedule? Third call. All right, seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing at 9:08 and bring it back to the board table. At this time then, I would be looking for a motion to approve the revisions to our services and fee schedule.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Okay, at this time, we will have our open forum. Is there anybody, Keisha, to speak at open forum?
There is nobody signed up, Madam Chair.
All right, anybody in the audience? Seeing no one, all right. Open forum is now closed. We'll move on to our regular agenda. Item number 6.1, receive an annual Northstar operations update from the Metropolitan Council. Andrew,
Morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners.
good morning.
Appreciate the opportunity to provide this update maybe a little bit sooner than we would normally, but in light of some of the conversations that I know we're interested in having at the county board level, I think the timing is very well. This morning, by way of WebEx, we've got Met Transit on the line. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ed. Are you going to be leading the discussion and sharing the PowerPoint?
Thank you, Andrew. I'll turn it over first of all to Wes Cloyster, our general manager. He'll do some opening comments. Then it'll be Tony Aber, director of commuter rail. We'll talk about some operations. And then me, Ed Petrie, then I will then move into the financial portion.
All right,
Madam Chair and Commissioners, thank you for inviting us here today. My name is Wes Cloyster, and I serve as the general manager for Metro Transit. And as Ed mentioned before, Ed Petrie, our finance director, provides the PowerPoint presentation. I'll just start us off with a few comments on Northstar ridership and costs. As you know, at the height of the pandemic, Northstar ridership dropped by more than 95%. This ridership loss mirrors the losses experienced by our bus commuter express service. So we were seeing those kinds of losses across all commuter express. In 2020, we reduced services for Northstar and our commuter express bus services, and today we are still running at significantly reduced service levels. For Northstar, this means 2 runs each weekday morning and 2 runs each weekday evening. Now, we had anticipated a significant return to the office after Labor Day that we thought might boost ridership, but for the most part, that return has been delayed due to the Delta variant. We are now hearing that a more substantial return to the office will occur after the first of the year, but we also think that this return will predominantly include hybrid schedules. And while we have seen some increase in ridership recently across all modes, today Northstar still serves less than 10% of its 2019 pre-pandemic riders. So all this to say that we still don't know how service demand will settle for the long term. And so we want to continue to provide services that stays ahead of demand until we learn more. Today, we are providing services at substantial savings to counties compared with 2019 costs. Our county funding partners are benefiting from the service reduction savings, and we have positioned federal funds to offset all lost fare revenues. So I think Ed will get a little bit more into that, and with your permission, Madam Chair, I would turn it back to Ed.
Okay.
Andrew, this is Ed Petrie. Quick question. Were you going to share the presentation, or do you want me to bring it up?
If you could bring it up, Ed, that'd be great.
Let's see if I can.
We've got it on backup if needed.
Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Beautiful. It's always a test in technology every time you try one of these meetings. So, Chair, committee members, once again, I'm Ed Petrie. I'm Director of Finance with Metro Transit. Thank you, Wes, for the opening comments. What I will do is I will now turn it over to Tony Hebert, and he will go through some comments on the operations update.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Tony Hebert, the Director of Northstar. I'm here to give you an update on our Northstar operations. As you know, the past year and a half has been very challenging for us. Pre-COVID, we were operating 72 trips per week with weekend service and special events. And now we're operating 20 trips per week with no weekend service and no special events. So it's been, a real work in progress for us. We had to make some adjustments. The staff here continues to be in very good spirits and perform at a very high level. We are averaging about a 96% on-time performance with no mechanical issues to date. We continue to maintain our fleet to the federal standards, and our mechanics and our facility personnel are doing lots of upgrades to our infrastructure for Northstar. We are currently in the process of overhauling some of our head-end power and locomotives in our locomotives, and we're doing improvements to the station and signage and cameras within our stations. Currently, we are doing some track work down at Target Field to improve some of the track issues that we're having down there. And as I mentioned before, we had to make some adjustments to Northstar in March of 2020. We made a decision to reduce our service. In August of last year, we asked our BNSF crew to reduce their staff from 12 personnel to 6 personnel. And in September, we moved 10 of our Northstar staffs to the light rail to help with the adjustment needed to reduce our costs of the Northstar operations due to the pandemic. We continue to perform at a high level. The cleaning on the trains is done daily. We've also done some upgrades to our filtration system to provide better air quality within our system. Positive train control continues to evolve and get better and better. We have had several software updates to improve our system on our trains, and it's going great. We haven't had any issues with the system, so it's been a real good process for us. In summary, it's Northstar, we're doing the best we can. Continues to be a very good service and a safe way to travel. With that, Madam Chair and Commissioners, I'm open for any questions.
Any questions for Tony? Do you, based on what you have reduced, do you have any idea of when you foresee anything, even in like weekend, for the special things that happen down in the metro, of bringing back any of those services anytime soon?
I'll defer that back to Wes if you want to update on that, Wes.
Yeah, Madam Chair, the proposal that the grant application they're bringing includes an increase of service from 2 trips in the weekday mornings and 2 trips weekday evenings to 4 trips weekday mornings and 4 trips weekday evenings. But the proposal does not include additional funding for weekend or for event service, as you were inquiring about.
Okay.
At this point, the request for the change to 4 morning and 4 weekday evening services is a funding request, and at this point, we would not anticipate moving to that level of service at the beginning of the year, given what we're seeing with ridership, and that would free up funds for us to consider weekday and event service down the road. But at this point, we're still dealing with the unknown, and we are still not being paid by Anoka County at this point, which is creating cash flow issues for us. And it's hard to increase service when one of the counties is not paying, who is responsible for 87% of the county share is not paying at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chair, any additional questions for Tony? If not, I will move on to financials.
Yep, go ahead, move on. I don't see any other
Okay, great.
questions.
Great, thank you. So moving on to the next slide here. Can you see the slide that says Northstar Operations 2021?
Yes.
Perfect, then I'll move forward then. Okay, with our Northstar operations in 2021, as Wes had mentioned, and Tony had mentioned, we had reduced services down to 4 trips per weekday, which was 2 morning, 2 afternoon trips with no weekend or special event service. We actually made this adjustment back on March 25th of 2021, or 2020, excuse me. Northstar operations also includes the impact of operations of COVID, which includes all the additional COVID, the maintenance, the cleaning of the platform stations and vehicles. One of the things that we're watching very closely in 2021, as you can imagine, is ridership. We are actually tracking ridership on a weekly basis, and my staff actually puts together a report every week, which shows the ridership compared to a trend. And I was kind of amazed by it when I looked at it this morning. We are at week number 85 of tracking ridership. So we have been doing this, unfortunately, for a long time. Ridership as of September, just going to give you a snapshot where we are as of September. For the month of September, we had 6,260 rides. Year to date, we're at just over 32,000 rides. Just to give you a feel for how that compares, right now in September, we averaged about 300 daily rides, or about 150 passengers per day. If we compare ourselves, let's just go back 2 years, back to 2019, which was pre-COVID times. Back in September of 19, we had 2,800 rides, or about 1,400 passengers per day. So right now we're running at about 150. We're previously at about 1,400. So we are down about 92% from our historical forecast. But like I said, we've been tracking ridership daily and weekly for 85 weeks now, and we continue to watch that very closely. Financials, I guess one of the next point here is the federal relief funds, which I have another slide coming up. The council was a recipient of 3 different lettings of federal relief funds. We received TRISA funds, CARES funds, and ARP funds, which I will go through that in the future slide. But what we're using those federal relief funds to offset any ridership decline, which would then have an impact on revenues, passenger revenues. So one of the things that we're using these funds to offset any impact to the county. So that way, as a result of the ridership decline, the counties, whether it's Sherburne County, MnDOT, or Anoka or Hennepin, are not taking any of the brunt of the ridership decline because we are filling that gap with federal funds. Right now, we watch our financials also very closely. Right now, the forecast as of August 31st through August 31st financials, forecasting to the end of the year, I'm currently forecasting about a surplus of normal operations of about $500,000. This would be the offset with passenger fares, with federal funds. It's mainly due to some of the savings in the costs on some of the maintenance costs that we've had. And having a few positions open, we're forecasting a savings of about $500,000. Like I said, we've used federal funds to offset the ridership decline. In addition to that, we also did receive about a month ago a refund from BNSF from 2020 operations of about $1 million. If you recall, with the BNSF contract, we contracted them for the service for all the conductors and for them to operate our trains, but also part of our monthly billing and annual billing is for line maintenance. So in 2020, they did not do as much line maintenance up and down the track as what they had anticipated. So everybody that was utilizing their track did receive a refund. We received a refund of about $1 million. So then we will then at the end of this year, we'll be refunding that back, your proportionate share back to Sherburne County. So like I said, right now we're forecasting a surplus of about normal operations about $500,000. And then we did have this one-time refund from BNSF of about $1 million. We talked about ridership, so this kind of gives you, this is kind of a startling pictorial of what's happened with the ridership. Back in 2019, you can see we just topped 767,000 rides. You can see we're pretty consistent, 17, 18, 19, at that, close to the 800,000 ride mark. Last year, we hit 152,000 rides in 2020. We came out of the gate in January and February 2020, very strong ridership. Then when the pandemic began to hit mid-March, ridership significantly declined. Right now in 2021, we are forecasting about 51,000 rides for the year. Just to give you once again a feel for weekday averages, calendar year 2019, we had average rides of 2,739. September right now we're running at 300 rides, average weekday ridership. Let you know also then, we also tracked the ridership week number 85, which was, I just got it hot off the press this morning, was for the week of October 11th through October 17th. Northstar ridership averaged 307 rides during last week, and we're down about 89%. So we're seeing a slow return of Northstar ridership, but it is quite slow on the return. The federal relief funds, as I had mentioned before, the council was a recipient of just over $725 million worth of federal relief funds. We received our first letting back in, it was about April or May of 2020. It was the ARP funds. Excuse me, it was the CARES funds. Let me go backwards here. It was the CARES funds, $226 million. Then in December of 2020, we were the recipient of just over $185 million of CRISA funds. And then the last letting was in early of 2021, $313 million. So for a total of $725 million. These funds, the council is largely using across all of its services to offset passenger fare declines and the additional COVID cleaning, just like we are doing on Northstar. So the funds are being utilized across bus operations, light rail, Northstar, the council's contracted services, Metro Mobility, and then the regional providers also get a share of these funds. The funds have come to us based upon the rules of the 5307 guidelines. As you are aware, on an annualized basis, we file what's called a 5307 cost report with the federal government. That, based upon that cost report, we report hours, miles, passengers, revenues, expenses. Based upon that, with every transit agency across the United States, the federal government will then give them 5307 formula funds that are generally used with grants to purchase like buses, stations, technology, those types of items are generally at an 80-20 grant. And so the new federal money that's coming in are following those 5307 guidelines. Had an emphasis on payroll and transit operations expenses. And they also emphasize very strongly that the grantee must follow the federal grant rules. And just to let you know, just in fact, the council was notified the last week of September the federal government is coming in to do a review of our first draws that we've done on the CARES Act the last week of October. So they are starting their reviews across the nation. They're going to come in, look at the draws that we pulled for CARES Act money, look at our backup, look at our documentation, and to ensure we are pulling the funds correctly. So they told us right from the get-go that they would be watching this very closely, and like I mentioned, they will be coming in the last week of October. As we mentioned, we're using the federal funds to offset the ridership declines, added COVID cleaning across the council family of services, which would include Northstar. Moving into Northstar operations into 2022, we continue the impact of COVID operations and the cleaning and the maintenance. As Wes had mentioned, our proposed budget is budgeting at 8 trips per weekday, which would be 4 morning and 4 afternoon, with no weekend or special event service. The bullet point number 3 here is the one that's very important. The fact is that we will continue to monitor ridership and the travel demand to determine the timing of any service adjustments. We were fairly common right out of the get-go from as of January 1st. We will not need at that point the 8 trips per weekday. So the savings that we would generate would then, as Wes had mentioned, would give us the opportunity that if demand requested it and required it, we could potentially push in some weekend service or special event service during the year of 2022 with no additional request of funding from the counties. Our ridership budget next year, we're budgeting about 134,000 rides, about a 25% ridership recovery. So right now I said as of last week, we're down 89%. This would say that as of 2022, we would be down 75% from previous trends. But once again, Northstar is an express service. We're watching very closely what employers are doing and how the downtown Minneapolis will come back. We will continue to use the federal relief funds to offset the ridership decline and continue to use those and reserves in our 2022 budget. So with that, that gives you then a snapshot of what the 2022 budget would look like. Historically, if you recall, our budgets were around $22 million. We're forecasting a budget right now for 2022 of about just over $16 million. I'll go on the expense side first. You can see we have the expenses with BNSF about $2.7 million. Then we have our salaries and benefits of staff. The regional allocations, we have our diesel fuel costs. We have our insurance, supplies, and allocations, which would be police and other allocatable costs. On the funding side, it looks similar to how it looked historically, but one of the big changes you'll see in there, you'll see the federal relief funds of $2.3 million, because we're only showing fares at about $500,000. Then the difference then is the federal relief funds to make the fare number whole in at $2.3 million. We then have the sharing then of the balance of the net subsidy, $5.6 million from the council or the state. Anoka County in at $4.6 million, Hennepin County just over $1 million, and Sherburne and Greater Minnesota in at $1.1 million. The amount for Sherburne County is estimated at $1,073,000. So that shows the $1.1 million. Once again, this budget, the proposed budget, is based upon service levels of 40 trips a week, which would be 4 morning and 4 afternoon with no weekend or no special event service. And with that, Chair and committee members, that's my last slide, and I would be open for questions or additional questions for Wes or Tony.
Any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I
Commissioner
have a couple.
Smeezing.
First of all, what portion is Anoka County not paying? Are they not paying? They're paying the bond payment is being made, I'd assume. Operations?
Chair, committee members, they are not paying their portion of the operating expenses. We have a signed agreement with Anoka County for calendar year 2020. The grant agreement is set up with 4 quarterly installments. They paid us first and second quarter of 2020, have not paid us third and fourth quarter of 2020. We applied for our operating grant agreement in 2021. As of this point in time, Anoka County has refused to execute an agreement in 2021.
So have they've indicated then that their intentions are not to pay?
Madam Chair, this is Wes Koistra.
Yes.
I think there's ongoing conversation going on with Anoka County at this time, and we need to have those conversations. I will say about regarding the refusal to entertain a 2021 operating grant, there's still an overarching agreement called the Master Operating Funding Agreement that really dictates what the county shares are. For Northstar, this was agreement that was made among counties at the time of the dissolution of CTIB. So there's still a governing agreement with respect to the share. So, you know, I don't want to represent Anoka County in this discussion. I just know that we have had some discussions with ongoing discussions with Anoka County, and unfortunately more are needed.
Okay, Madam Chair,
Yes.
Ed, you do great pencil work. All the numbers are there, they all add up, they all work. But I do have to say today that I'm very concerned about Northstar, the decision we made, and the future of commuter rail. And I think it's important that in some way, we begin to have that discussion. And there has been, to my knowledge, very little discussion amongst the other counties and partners that are involved. Now, I know that we have been able to maintain the same level that we have been spending the last several years for Northstar. But the service is dramatically reduced, ridership is down, and I'm not sure, you know, we're blaming a lot of this on COVID, understandably. But Northstar has never lived up to its expectations. And I think for us to begin to believe that all of a sudden COVID is going to be gone and they will achieve the expectations that they've never met yet is probably unrealistic. And we are spending a lot of taxpayer money, not necessarily Sherburne County taxpayer monies, which I am thankful for, but a lot of money here with little return. And I hope that we can have a conversation that may include shuttering and have a very broad conversation on what needs to be done here, rather than just sorting through the figures every year and continuing to put money into this project. I guess that's not really a question, it's a statement. And I will reiterate, it is very difficult for me to sit here and make this statement because I have been a part of Northstar since before it was built, and I supported it. And I supported it because I felt the numbers would work, and the numbers have never worked. They've never achieved the numbers that we were told were going to happen with Northstar. So at some point, I think we need to step back, and we're finding the money, we're putting it in a pot, but at some point, we need to step back and really discuss the viability of this commuter rail in this community.
And to Felix's point, at the moment, we're using a lot of federal grant dollars to help sustain this. At some point, that's got to come to an end. It's not going to go on forever. And then what are we left with for costs that are going to hit us? Yes, Commissioner Phobie.
Thank you, Chair Danielowski. I concur with Commissioner Schmeezing. It's a tough thing for me to even say, but I believe we need some comprehensive discussions of all options at this point. I too, you know, the numbers with COVID have been dismal. We know that. That was somewhat expected, but the numbers have never added up in how we thought, and originally many of us were involved in this for many years from different capacities. But I believe that we need, I don't even know where our board stands on it. So I think we need a comprehensive discussion, even just as a board, with all options on the table at this point, and would appreciate that.
Wes, I seen your hand up.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could just comment and first of all, agree that a discussion is needed. At this point, we don't, as I mentioned in the presentation, we don't know exactly where ridership is going to settle out, but I wouldn't, we do know that it's not going to return to pre-COVID levels of ridership, and I hear you clearly that you felt that pre-COVID levels of ridership were not meeting the promises that you thought that this corridor would meet. So I hear that clearly. I think there needs to be a discussion. I know that the legislature had requested a study of all transit ridership and where that ridership was heading, and that included specifically called out Northstar. I think we do need more study. I know that study sometimes seems like a way to delay, but that's not what I'm talking about. I think we need to look at what is the future of the corridor. There are all sorts of really important issues that need to be discussed. There's a lot of municipalities who have based their land planning around the corridor. That those commitments and investments need to be considered. We have a federal interest in the upfront capital expense that needs to be considered. I'm not sure if there are any state bond interests still outstanding with that respect, but it's a big discussion that really needs to consider a multitude of factors, from the service performance to the land planning, to the various groups that have interest in the capital that was built. And so I just want to acknowledge the concerns that are being raised here today and say that we understand why they're being raised.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Smeezing.
I appreciate that there is going to be that discussion. But I think in the near future that there should be an opportunity for the partners, the Hennepin County, Anoka County, Sherburne County, and to a lesser degree, Stearns County, along with Metro, to get together and have a discussion about this. You know, when we built this thing, it seemed like we met twice a week. And now it's failing, and we can't get in a room together. So I think we really need to put forth some effort for all of us to get together and to discuss how we see the future, those of us that have been making a bonding payment and participating in the operations of it.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Dolan.
A question for Ed. Ed, so the 725 million in appropriations, I know that Met Council has a longer window as far as how long they can utilize those funds versus typical ARPA and CARES funds for us on the county side. Based on your guys' ridership projections and that bucket of money, how long do you foresee us being able to subsidize the ridership numbers? How many years?
Thank you that's a very, very good question. That's one of the things I should have mentioned when I talked about this slide. Like I mentioned, we're using this across the council's family of services, which would include Northstar, bus, light rail, metro mobility, etc. Our current forecast trends with ridership returning, we forecast that we should be able to use the federal money through approximately the end of calendar year 2024 or early into 2025.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Thank you very much for the question.
And just for clarification, when you say ridership returning, what is that number in your mind as to returning to the pre-COVID level?
Right, you hold on. The ridership, excuse me, I'm trying to remember the numbers. We're doing multi-year forecasting. I believe like I said, we are looking at ridership returning to about a 25% level in 2022, up to a 50% level in 2023. Forecasting though, Northstar ridership would not return to none of our services would return to a full level until calendar year 2027.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Thank
Yes.
you.
Wes?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll just add to that we've never been here before. None of us have been here before in this situation. So these forecasts are the best we can do with what we know today. And they have so much risk in them that I don't want to rely too heavily on, well, we said we would return this service by this level of ridership by this time and this level of ridership by this time. We are making our best forecast we can, but again, we're in an environment that we've never experienced before.
Commissioner Schmezing?
And Wes, I can't agree with you more, because it is ridership forecasts that brought us to the place we are today, and those were 15 years ago. So to really anticipate that is about impossible.
Yep. Commissioner Pope, did you have a question? I don't. You're good? Okay. Any other questions? Well, I think you've heard that we definitely do want to get together with our partners in Northstar, start to have that conversation. I don't know if we bring back the committee that served through that period. No? Just get ourselves together with our counterparts? All right. Any other questions then? Well, we appreciate you being here to give us the update. It's obviously going to be a continuing discussion and a work in progress.
Thank you for the candid discussion, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Madam Chair, and
Yes.
I do just want to, say that I've dumped my feelings here and where I'm at with this, and I certainly don't want to be indicating that anyone that's on this call today that we are visiting with is not doing the very best job they can and working very hard to be as successful as they can within the parameters that we have. So if I came across that way, I do apologize. But over the years, Ed, you've been here many times, and I've never been an easy customer, have I? But at any rate, I do appreciate the work you do and understand that you're working in very difficult situation and difficult times. So thank you.
And then when we do talk to Stearns County, knowing what their thoughts are, we have to get an understanding of where we're heading. Yes, Commissioner Phobie.
Just to add to that, Chair, and I really appreciate the presentation today and for allowing us to speak candidly. There are some champions of Northstar sitting at this table. There have been for many, many years when this all was coming to be. So it's hard for us to sit here and have these feelings and be in this space. But I think the important part for me, too, is to have the Sherburne discussion.
Yep.
Because we are feeling the pressures from Stearns on one end and from Anoka on the other. And I think we don't, as a board, know where we're at. So I really want to emphasize, I almost need just a conversation also with us and our staff about this. So thank you again for the time today.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have a
Thank
good
you,
rest of your
Commissioners.
day.
You as well.
All right. Well, that was a good discussion. Moving on then to receive our update from the University of Minnesota Extension Office. This will also be by Zoom. Oh, sorry. Oh, there she is. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to be by Zoom. My apologies. Okay, you can go to the podium. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me again for this discussion. I didn't prepare formal remarks. We've kind of had a couple of conversations about this opportunity, so I'll just kind of recap a little bit what we're talking about today. But the University of Minnesota Extension, as you know, has memorandums of agreement with all 87 counties in the state, and the way we're structured is dictated by state statute. In Sherburne County, that MOA has looked a little bit different for several years than it does in some of our surrounding counties, in that you fund our youth development portion of the organization, which is 4-H primarily, but not other areas of the organization. In surrounding counties, we have partnerships with the counties where we have agriculture, food, and natural resources work that we do, and those are educators. In Stearns, Benton, and Morrison counties, we have for a long time had a partnership where those counties share the expense of 3 educators, and that gets them a lot of benefits that I think are pretty wonderful compared to what other counties get. Other counties may fund a position where that person has to be an expert in all things. Agriculture, Stearns, Benton, and Morrison decided many, many years ago that it would be better to share the cost so that they can have educators that have expertise in specific areas. So they share 3 educators, one in horticulture, one in agriculture, and one in crops and one in livestock. This past year, we have been having discussions about those memorandums of agreement because, as you know, they are expiring at the end of this year, so the university is renegotiating those contracts with all counties, including Sherburne. Stern, Benton, and Morrison, in talking with the 3 educators that work with those counties, decided that it made a lot of sense to invite Sherburne County to be a part of that partnership. We crunched some numbers, looked at the size of your county, the size of your land, the size of your budget, agriculture in the county comparatively, and invited Sherburne to join at the same financial place that Benton County is in, and that is 0.65% of a position. So we had some discussions with the board about that, with county commissioners from those other counties. I know that this board has been talking a lot and thinking a lot about this partnership. Today with me, I did bring Carla Mertz, who is from our Farm Family of the Year. Carla is with Iron Shoe Farms, and the reason Carla made sense, last time I spoke with you guys, we brought a county commissioner from another county, and I dearly love working with county commissioners from all of my counties, but sometimes it's the actual farmers in the county who know a little bit more about our services. Carla in particular, because she has taken advantage of our services in getting her small farm started, and she also is somebody who partners with us quite frequently, and we would like to partner even more with Sherburne County to do programs at her farm to really help people in the community understand agriculture and where their food comes from. So Carla, I'll invite you up to talk a little bit about extension.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's good to be back to see everybody. My name is Carla Mertz. I'm the owner of Iron Shoe Farm. We're located in Princeton, Baldwin Township, right off of 136th Street. I'm here to share why the U of M extension is so important to me and my family, and our awesome experience with extension. 8 years ago, in 2013, we purchased 33 acres. In 2018, we added another 30, with a beautiful red barn, land, and a great old farmhouse. We moved from Zimmerman, where we were highly active in the community, both within the fire department and school system, with volunteering and coaching. But we moved from a small town my husband grew up in, and we were excited to live our dream of living on the land, raising gardens, hunting, and starting a hobby farm, and knowing where our food came from. In 2014, we attended a U of M extension program called Living Off the Land. It was an 8-week course. There we learned everything our small farm could do for us and the community. The topics we went through were land and water conservation, enterprise budgeting, assessment of property, short, long-term goals, state and local regulations, limitations, soil treatment, watershed, woodland and wildlife protection, produce farming, animal care, management, and so on and so forth. When we took a tour of several local farms in the area, this is what got us started on our goal setting for what we thought would be just a hobby farm. It assisted us in really planning and having our land work for us. Through the past 6 years on our beginning farm journey, we've experienced much growth, and through that growth, we've worked with the U of M on many resources, projects, and even now, I speak at a local extension educational series. Many are with educators we met in 2014. Those programs are through Pine County and many other counties through the area. We help them form focus groups for poultry and meat processing, and we also will begin the fall season of 21 through many seasons to come with the Sherburne County Junior Master Gardeners program. So they are moving part of their program onto our farm, and from there we will be giving the community a source of education with extension. We've been the recipient of Farm Family of the Year of 2021. And I serve on the U of M Steering Committee for Sherburne County District 5, advocate with Farmers Union at a national, state, and local level. And I'm part of the Minnesota Beef Council Top of Class for Beef Advocacy. I've hosted many educational series within the farm community, and members are wanting local programs to help them succeed. Currently, I get phone calls fielded to my farm, and it's quite an honor to know that even the county has fielded some of those phone calls to me. However, I think Extension would really be a great resource for not only for farmers, but also community programs for the youth, as well as single parenting classes. There are many, many programs that education through the Extension. I just know that this is a really great thing for families in Sherburne County. So that's my experience. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So I'll just say that obviously this is something that I'm passionate about. I wouldn't be working for Extension if I wasn't. It's something Carla's passionate about. Obviously, it's a labor of love for her. But for a county to join a partnership like this, it's something that we want to make sure that you are all passionate about. I know that this board is torn on this decision. And though I think, especially budget-wise, this moment in time, I think we've talked a little bit about why it makes sense monetarily right now because of some of the changes in our pricing structure. It gives you guys the opportunity to join the partnership at a really, really reasonable level of funding. However, Stearns, Benton, and Morrison have a partnership that has been going really, really well for a very long time. I work with those counties. And so this is not, it's of course something I'm advocating for. I think it's good for this county, and I think the timing is right. But also, if it's something that the board decides to do, I think that we in Extension would just ask that you really are behind it. Because I don't want to take a partnership that really has been going smoothly for 17 years and have it not go smoothly because we have a partner who is sort of lukewarm on the decision. So we're here to say that we think this is really good timing. We think it's a good thing to do. We think it's the right thing to do. But we would leave that in your capable hands to make the final decision. So,
All right.
any questions?
Any
for-
questions? Barb?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Barb. Go ahead, Barb.
I just wanted to say that over the years, I know that one of the things that the Extension Office has worked on is mental health issues for farm families, and that was really very, very beneficial. The other thing is that the average age of a farmer in Minnesota, I believe, is in the mid to late 50s. So we're going to see a lot of transition from family farms onto another generation or new families coming into farming that haven't been in farming before, and I think that Extension offers educational opportunities and other resources that really help that transition. And the other thing is, I think farming isn't just large crops of corn and soybeans. It's a variety of other kinds of farming, and that not everybody has good preparation for that if they're interested in going into it. And so I think that the Extension Office really helps with that. So that's just where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I would say that, Barb, for Sherburne County specifically, for all of our counties, farming is something that we're seeing tremendous change and actually growth in operations like Carla's. That's especially true in Sherburne County. You guys have, some of your composition is unique. Your land size is large. Your budget size is fairly large. You have fewer cattle, but you have quite a bit of crop. But you are seeing a lot of small farm, local foods type work occurring in this county. Even if you look at our Farm Family of the Year, I think last year it was a potato farm. I actually drove past them coming out here today, and then this year we have Carla's Farm is the Farm Family of the Year. So I think agriculture, no doubt it is growing, but in those unique niche areas.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Dolan?
Yeah, so I think in my conversation on this has been the same since it's been brought up. I think there's two different conversations. One is the joining of a partnership, and the next one is the addition of a position. And I can't remember when we first had this discussion. I mean, it's been a couple months, I think, since we originally started it. And I've been consistently asking for the metrics to justify an additional position. I still don't have anything. I don't have a number of calls, I don't have numbers of visits, I don't have geographic distribution for where the existing stuff serves. I have none of the data that I would use to make a decision like this, and none of the data that we make our internal staff give us when we give them money, or give them additional positions. Or the same standard that we hold grant recipients to that come in and request ARPA funds or whatever. We don't have any of that. And I struggle making a decision and without those things in that standard that we hold everybody else to. And again, it's an ominous walk.
They're past you, it's okay.
Locking me up. And again, we have a tendency, and we treat ag different because ag is different by nature. But there's a line with me of where we stop treating it different and we hold the same standards for other requests to these type of requests. And I don't know how many more times I can ask for it and in how many different ways, but I don't have it.
Yeah, so I would like to speak to that. I know that you guys have asked us for data on several occasions, and we've given you what we have. So we've given you quite a bit of data, but the issue with that is we're not collecting the data specific to Sherburne County. So we have lots of data that tell you here in the region with the partnership, here's how many phone calls we've taken, and here's how many programs we've put on and things we've done. Here's how many people attended those programs. But especially with this partnership, we've never broken that down by which county they're from. Sometimes we get the information, sometimes we don't. Some people know the answer, and a lot of times around the St. Cloud area, they don't. So I apologize that I don't have clear metrics for here's exactly how many calls we're getting today from Sherburne County. Here's exactly how many participants we have, like Carla, today, who are coming to programs in other counties from Sherburne County. I have asked our programming staff to look at that, if you decide to move forward and have more data, but there's never a time we're gonna be able to put exact metrics around what is the cost benefit, what's the economic driver to a county when an educator goes out to a farm location and helps a local farmer put a business plan together. Some of those numbers we can get and some are just not. And the position, speaking to that, we've talked a lot about this, especially with the other counties, and I think some of those commissioners have probably spoken to you guys about this. There is a concern with those counties. Like I said, Stearns, Benton, and Morrison have been pretty happy with the level of service they're getting. They get reports every month from educators who come to the County Extension Committee meetings that talk about the robust programming that they're getting. They don't want to lose any of that service. And so if we brought Sherburne into the fold, it would mean that not only would we be doing the things that you're already taking advantage of by just going to other counties or coming into our call line, but we would actually be doing programming in Sherburne County, just like we do in any other county. And there's some excitement around that because you guys have a lot of agriculture happening here, but you also have a lot of agribusiness here that would be good opportunities for us to partner with. So the other counties, I think that these commissioners have expressed this to members of the board, that their feeling is that they don't want to add to the mix without also beefing up our ability to keep the programming strong in all of our counties. And this was the year that we had the funding to do that because we're reducing the cost of these educators. So it frees up a little bit of money in their budgets to put towards this partnership. So that's what they're saying. We're willing to put money towards this partnership, and at what level should Sherburne be a part of it? And so that's where we kind of came to this 0.65 of a position.
And Madam Chair, and that kind of brings to a whole nother set of metrics that I've, again, never seen as far as the growth, the existence of ag, how many acres of ag we have, especially as we look at very, very substantial tracts of land getting taken out of ag for large solar developments, how many ag businesses we have in the county versus where is that trending? Because we've gotten we're adding something, so it's got to be in response to something. I can't, it's hard for me to go to my constituents and say, we've gotten by for 25 years without this, and now we're going to add it. They're going to ask why, and I have nothing to point to other than,
So that data is something that we can look at, different than what we've been trying to give you. I mean, I have overall data for your county. You know, right now, you guys, Sherburne has about the same level of acreage of crops as Benton County, which is why we kind of look to do the same. You're at that 20 to 50,000 level. Like I said, you've got fewer cattle by far. You're not a big dairy or beef county, where like a Stearns County, they're one of the biggest in the country. They're huge. But you guys are bigger in things like what Carla's doing, like potatoes. You have some alternative crops here. You also have some traditional crops. I think, Felix, you could speak to that a little bit. But you have corn and soybeans, quite a bit going on in this county. Looking at the trend line, I don't have year-over-year data in front of me, but that's something we can actually get for you.
yeah, no, that's, I mean, that's all the type of stuff that I would use to make this decision, and I don't have it
Can I
yet.
speak to that? In some of the programs that we've been a part of helping and educating with, there are a lot of small farmers, especially in Sherburne County, when we did a focus group with poultry, that want to expand. So they right now have a backyard flock where they're raising maybe 50 birds, and they want to get on track to raise 2,000 birds and grow their customer base. And you'll see that as a result of COVID with the local food movement. That's not going away. So you have all these small little 10 to 20 acre parcels where young families are moving onto, they're getting out of the city. They want to know where their food is coming from. And we just had this poultry focus group with the U of M 3 weeks ago, and there were 25 attendees. That's huge. And they're not my age, I'm 45, they're younger than me. So they're just new families starting out. And so that's that resurgent of the 55 plus is kind of moving on and looking at retiring. Well, now you have this resurgent. And we also get phone calls fielded from people that are all over the state where we go to other seminars, and they're asking about our Dinner on the Farm series that we did. They're asking about, how do I turn my barn into an event location? Who do I talk to? What do those numbers look like? And with the extension, those are some things that they can help with those business plans. They can help guide them in the right direction with rules and regulations, because a lot of us in Sherburne County don't know. There isn't anyone to go to. So by having a program like this and investing in it and partnering with Benton and Stearns, who we now go to have representation in our own county is huge. It's a great, great thing, especially for the future of agriculture. And economic development and agriculture and this whole regional small town redevelopment, it's going to have to be invested in.
Thank you. Commissioner Philby?
I want to thank Carla for being here today and sharing your story, serving our community so well in so many ways, and also helping us understand what the U of M extension has been to your household and for you to be able to advance your farm the way you have. I have sat here, and it's a question I've asked, why aren't we a part of this? Why haven't we been for years? I've wanted the history, and I haven't gotten that piece. So I'm hearing the story, and I think that definitely up in that Princeton, Baldwin, Mille Lacs County area, you're seeing a lot of these types of farms happening, and it's a great addition to our communities. We're bringing in people from all over to do your dinners on the farm, to do a lot of different events and activities up in that area. So I feel like we haven't paid our fair share as a county with this, to support this. So those are the pieces I still don't have clear in my mind, but this was very helpful to hear your story and how you've utilized the program and how you are giving back to the program and to our people in Sherburne County and not getting paid for it, I'm sure. So, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Schmeezing.
I think, I certainly hear when you say that you don't want a reluctant partner. And I think what we probably need to do is to drop back and spend a little bit of time either becoming very engaged and excited to be a part of partner, rather than to be kind of pulled into this not quite ready, because you're right, that does not serve the partnership that already exists. So I think that's what we should be working on seeing how this relationship can work, developing the numbers, trying to figure out where we can be. But at this point, I agree with you. I don't think we want to be pushing into something that we aren't really committed to do.
All right, any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Dolan.
And I agree with what Felix is saying. I don't want it to come across like I don't support it. I fully support this if the numbers justify it. That's how I make decisions, and I need to be able to see that. I need to understand the backstory. I need to understand where we're going. And like I said, unfortunately, up here, really a lot of times all we can make decisions on is numbers, because everybody's got a story. Everybody thinks things are going to be great. Everybody asks for something, right? So it's not that I'm not supportive of the idea. I just need to be able to justify it, so.
So Lori, can you get some of that information that has been requested to us?
Yeah, so what I will look at is trend data specifically to agriculture in Sherburne County and the surrounding region, and that we can get to you. Two things I will add. First of all, timeline. So the reason we were looking at this now, of course, is because budget structures are changing and we've got new MOAs that we're negotiating. So I have 3 other counties who are waiting for final budget numbers, and they've been pretty gracious about that. I think they're excited about this whole partnership, and I've told them that certainly no matter what the decision is here, it's not going to add to their budget. So I think that's okay, but ultimately I do have to put numbers on paper, and I need to do that fairly soon. So I agree, Commissioner Schmeething, I completely hear you about, how do we make sure? And that's very important to me as the regional director for all of these counties, that, I don't do something that's going to ultimately be an unhappy situation for everybody. So, maybe we talk about that. I don't know what the next step is. My hope was that we'd come today and kind of be able to put some closure.
I think the next step is we have some time,
Yeah.
right? I think this is just me stepping out, but I don't think we're looking at this for this year's budget anymore. Right?
I hope we are.
I don't know that I have an opportunity to have this partnership offered beyond, I have to set their 3-year memorandums of agreement, and I've got to set them by January 1.
I think what I'm hearing is if you could get some of that information, we as a board will have to discuss this at our next workshop, or possibly the one after that, so we can get back to you with a clear, definite answer.
Yeah, so I will do that. The one other thing I wanted to add is I know that the idea of a position has been a very big sticking point for some of the board members, and it's one thing that I really would like us to get away from, because it's not, what you're buying is not a position. You're funding at 0.65 of an FTE, but it's a suite of services that we offer. And I think the other counties are saying, in order to keep the level of service that we've been getting for the last 17 years, and as Sherburne County, we need to add resources to that suite of services. And so, it's not, we're gonna hire a person to work with Sherburne County. That's not at all what we would be doing. We would be looking at that suite of services we already have, knowing that small farms, local foods is an overflow area, and what would be the best resources to add to make sure we can keep the level of service for those 3 counties and also offer that level of service to Sherburne County.
And Lori, when you say overflow area, but to me it sounds like one of the bigger growing areas.
Yeah, it is. It's an area where we've got an educator who's saying, there's so much happening here that I can't keep up with it.
And I don't think we even are aware of what's happening in our own county in regards to what people are trying to do out there.
Yeah. Well, so I'll do the best we can at getting you some data. We do have educators that actually work in that area, and it might actually make sense to have one of them come and talk to you guys about, their statisticians that can look at ag data and talk about Sherburne County specifically. So we will do that.
All right. Any other questions then for Lori? Okay, thank you very much for the
Thank you.
presentation. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next item on the agenda is to consider the approval for publication of a request for proposal for planning and zoning permitting systems. And we have, well, it says Carrie, but I see Lynn.
Well, I was just going to introduce Carrie.
Okay,
Good
good.
morning, Commissioners. I'd like to introduce Carrie. She has worked in our office for the last 2.5 years. She took Judy Weber's position in our office. She's been working on this, so she is going to present this to you.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I just wanted to take the opportunity to give you a brief background on how we arrived at this request for proposal and what we hope to accomplish with it. So Planning and Zoning has a current permitting system. We purchased this in 2015. Since this time, there have been a lot of issues that we've worked through and system enhancements that we've done. And in 2019, then we began our latest series of enhancements. And our ultimate future goal was to create a citizen portal to go along with the system. In 2021, we were informed by our vendor that the fixes and enhancements and the goals that we had couldn't be accomplished unless we would update our system. And unfortunately, we were quoted between $100,000 and $200,000 just to update the system. We would still need to make fixes, enhancements. We would still need to create the portal and take on the cost associated with that. So spending more money on a product that didn't really seem to be fitting our needs didn't seem like a decision that we were ready to make. So we formed a committee. We started researching our options that were out there. We invited vendors in for demonstrations. We visited with other counties and surrounding cities to see what they were using and what they thought of those different products. And we were really excited then about the possibilities of a new system. So we would like to seek approval from the county board to publish the request for proposal. These funds have been budgeted. The IT staff as well as county attorney has looked at our request with approval. And then our goal for this new system is to ultimately better serve the citizens of Sherburne County. We would be able to offer then a modernized, more efficient system, and our contractors and our citizens could apply online, submit documents online, check up on the status of things, pay online, and be updated on how their permit is moving through the system. And so we would still, of course, offer the option of people who wanted to give us a call with questions, come to the counter with questions and work through this in person. That would still be something that we would want to offer. We feel that we provide really good service now to our citizens and contractors, and then an improved permitting system would allow us to kind of take that to the next level and be able to continue that good service by offering that modernized and efficient system for our citizens and for the contractors that work in our county. So with that, Planning and Zoning is asking for your approval for this request for proposal.
All right, any questions for Carrie? If not, then I would be looking for that motion.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
There was one note in here that I wanted to bring up to the board and to staff. So in 2.2 for scope of work, it's outlined very well, and I don't see any true issue with any of it. However, I'm wondering if some of our language in there might prohibit some competition, and I guess the way I'd say it best would be to add like a phrase or comparable functionality within that successful scope of work, because I went through there and there's certain standards where, for example, let's see, I think it's item C, utilization of existing forms and integration. I don't think we should close the door if there's a solution out there where they help us recreate forms. I don't think we should close the door to that. So just being able to open it up a little bit more. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, we can sure add that, and I think the example we had with AO Docs is pretty analogous, where, you know, we looked at the best out there and then adapted. It was, you know, it came through the vetting process, so to broaden it to have more competition makes sense.
Yeah, I just don't want to close the door on anything.
No, perfect, good points. Thank you for bringing them forward. So with that being said, then I would be looking for a motion to approve the request for proposal with the modifications requested by Commissioner Dolan for the new permitting software for planning and zoning.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Looking forward to that. I think the public is going to much appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on then to our next item on our agenda, number 6.4 is consider the approval of the Google/AO Docs contract and 5-year cost of ownership. Amanda.
Good morning.
Good morning.
June 1st, this came to this board. We presented a replacement for our social service e-file system. Northwoods, which is our current system, is sunsetting June 2022. We were tasked before making that big purchase with the Northwoods replacement to go out and see what else is out there. And so we vetted 4 different products, and then by far and away, AO Docs, which is a Google partner that works on the Google workspace. I hope I have the terminology correct. Far and away exceeded the competition, as well as was within the price point. And so at that time, at the June 1st meeting, you approved $200,000. That's $100,000 for implementation costs, as well as $100,000 for first year costs. I am here today because we finally got through the contracting process with Google, which was no easy feat. But what you have in your board packet is recommended for approval both by IT, the county attorney's office, as well as county administration. And so we were asking for approval of that contract to sign, as well as the total 5-year cost of ownership, which would be a total of $600,000. So that's again the $100,000 implementation cost, as well as $100,000 each year for 5 years.
All right. Any questions for Amanda? Hearing none, then I would be looking for the motion to approve the Google/AO Docs contract with 5-year cost of ownership.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Phobie. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Dolan.
I want to thank Tim Syme for all his red ink on this one.
I want to
No.
thank Tim Syme too.
Truthfully, you know, when you start dealing with companies this size, the lawyers do a lot of work behind the scenes, and it was a fun process to follow, so I just want to give him,
I
give
was
him
saying,
his
you think it's a
recognition
fun
for his
process.
efforts.
Are those words going to come out of Tim's mouth?
As long as we're done for 5 years.
He's all happy. All right, yes, thank you for that, for all that work.
Just so
on
you
that.
know, the side conversation, I says, well, what if we terminate early? Tim says, we're not terminating early, so.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, at this time now, we will go into opening our ditch authority meeting. We'll recess our regular meeting. So at this time, we're in our ditch authority meeting. And I'm looking for a motion to review and approve our ditch authority agenda.
Move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Smeezing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right. Are we gonna see pictures?
Some videos.
Oh, videos. You're gonna have to start bringing
City,
popcorn.
Elk River, Street, CORD 35. Location details, Troy ST. Pipe segment reference, north of tracks, MH at Troy ST. Upstream MH,
You can
north
turn
of
the
tracks.
volume down.
Downstream MH, MH at Troy ST. Camera direction, downstream. Height, 24 in. Material, reinforced concrete pipe. Pipe use, stormwater pipe. Media date/time, August 18th, 2021, 2:08 p.m.
That voice is
Surveyed
very
by Garrett
tense.
Frey, owner, City of Elk River.
Yeah. Sounds like the, my TV when it talks at you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Is there any questions or comments on my written report before I get to the videos?
I don't see any.
Okay. All right, we'll get right on to it. County Ditch 28. We televised the 24-inch tile line that goes underneath County Road 35 and the Burlington Northern Railroad tracks. We've been talking about and wanting to know what the condition of this tile line was under the railroad tracks for quite a while. If there was a failure here, it could be not good. So we hired a company to come in and televise this line. They use a robotic camera that has wheels on it and motors its way through the tile line. There's a manhole on the south side of County Road 35 where we accessed to allow the camera to go in. I'll kind of jump ahead a little bit here. It's about a 15-minute video, but I'll just kind of summarize.
Don't stop this compelling video. 15 minutes of it, let's see it.
There's actually two. This is, as you can see, this pipe is in really good condition. It was actually replaced with the road project in 2015. So you can see there's our 8-foot sections of reinforced concrete pipe. Right down here in the lower right-hand corner, it's kind of blocked, but it keeps track of how far it goes in to the tile. Right now it's at 60 feet.
What's the total length of pipe?
We went about almost 240 feet.
Okay.
Now you can see where the sections of pipe are smaller. This is the old existing tile line. They are 2-foot sections and they are just butt jointed. He's focusing on a joint there. It's actually pretty tight. This one there you can see is a little bit offset.
Does that just happen through settling?
Yeah, yep, settling through time. Freeze-thaw cycles, they move around a little bit. We're getting close to being under the railroad tracks at this point. The railroad tracks start at about 120 feet.
So how are you taking these pictures? Are you,
It's a robotic camera.
okay,
And it has a cable that goes all the way back into a service truck.
okay. So it's not somebody walking?
No, no, it's a robotic camera. Actually, on this one, this is the first video we took. It actually had a hard time. Once it got up in there a ways, it had a really hard time.
Can you describe all the debris we're seeing on the side there?
On the left, you can see that's just silt and sediment. It looks like Star Wars, but it's actually, what you see it coming at you is like steam because it's so humid down there.
At what point would you jet wash or clean this out?
We actually did, this is after it was jetted. The first time we couldn't get through. I do have video of that too.
That's how plugged it was at that point.
Yeah, there was probably 6 inches of mud, silt. Right now it's underneath the railroad tracks. And actually the pipe is in a lot better condition than I thought it would be. The 120 to 160-foot range is about the parameters of the railroad tracks. What you see here on the right is a branch that ties into the main line. If you want to think of this main line would be like Trunk Highway 10, and this is a city street that comes into it, if you want to think of it that way. This is branch 1A. You can see that's a concrete, that's concrete there. It was repaired at one point. But if you look inside, you can see those are all roots. Roots. Tree roots.
Is this still one of our lines, or is that an Elk River line?
This is branch 1A of County Ditch 28.
Okay.
What's the diameter of?
This one here is 12-inch.
Okay.
And the main line,
Doesn't have any lines, do they?
no, this is all
They're all
County
ours.
Ditch.
Okay.
You have instant replay? You have fast forward?
Yep.
This is why I don't go on rides at Valley Fair. I suddenly feel like I'm,
Claustrophobic?
yes, no, nauseous. I can't watch it.
Those are root masses. Now this is north of the tracks.
Yeah, it'd be great if you started turning it too.
You have vertigo?
Motion sick really bad.
As you can see, some of these root masses are getting larger. At this point, the tile line is running right along a tree line. So you can see that there's a lot of roots inundating this tile line.
Need to flush them with a little brush killer.
Yeah, little round.
So overall, Mike, is this in better shape than you thought it was gonna be in, worse shape?
This part here is not in good shape. But my main concern was the condition of the tile line underneath the railroad tracks.
Okay. Which we're past at this point.
Yep, we are past the railroad tracks.
Not in great shapes, but it's still working.
Yeah, it's still working, but you can see up atop here,
Yes.
these are broken.
I was gonna say, they look like they failed. At what point do you determine that they would just plain collapse?
It could happen anytime. That's why my recommendation is to replace this section of tile line. It's just a matter of time before we have a failure here.
That'd be even harder issue to take care of, right?
I'm sorry?
I said then it would become even more problematic to take care of.
It would probably happen when the tile is probably 50% or more full of water, and then you have to contend with all the water, and it becomes a real problem.
Yeah.
Because you'll know when it fails is because the water will start backing up and start flooding upstream, and then you have to contend with all that head pressure, and you have to bypass the water somehow, and it gets to be a lot more expensive and much more difficult.
Well, especially when the pictures, you need to be proactive when you see what the pictures are showing you.
Yep. Yeah, as
Well,
you
now
can,
is the time, and you've gone in, you've documented, you know where to
Yep.
dig, you know what to fix.
Yep.
I'd say go ahead and fix it. Let's express through the rest of this, and we'll get on with our lives.
yep. Now would be the time to do it. There's no flow through the tile.
Felix wants to fast forward to the end.
Okay.
You are going to get your approval.
I'm not asking for board action, but I am recommending that we should get in here and get this taken care of
Not waste any more time looking at it. Let's
All
get
right.
out and fix it. Let's go fix it.
Get her done.
Okay,
I trust you, Mike. I've shut mine off.
all right. And you can see here, it takes a
He's
turn to
just
the
not done. He
left.
wants us to make sure we see every bit of it.
All right, I'm done.
No, show us, show us the key parts.
Very
Thank you,
good
Mike.
Video.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for doing that too, because it does help.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think the pictures are so helpful.
All right, here is the manhole that we accessed, and this is about as far as we went, about 240 feet. The tile, the branch 1 of A that comes in is what we saw also. The railroad tracks is about the 120 to 160 foot mark, which was in really good shape, which is, it's a relief because
That'd be really,
Yeah, that'd be,
if we had a collapse under that railroad, we'd have some big problems. Not to say that we should ignore it, but possibly in the future, we should probably line this, put a slip line through there. If the concrete failed, at least we'd still have a pipe in there. A slip lining, it's really thick pipe, it's about a 1/2 inch thick, it's really durable and sturdy. So we'd have to reduce that size, we'd have to put about a 21 inch or an 18 inch line through there. And then they bulkhead both ends and fill it with lightweight concrete so it fills the void. That's something that we're gonna need to look at here in the future.
so it's your belt and suspenders fix is what it is.
Yeah.
all right.
That's all I have. Any more questions, comments, concerns?
Nope, any questions or comments? Nope, thank you for the video, and at this moment then, I would be looking for a motion to receive and accept the drainage technician's report.
I'll move it.
Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thanks,
So
Mike.
does that mean you're gonna bring us pictures after you fix it?
Yep, of course.
You keep asking for it.
I know, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Mike. Okay,
We're
moving on.
dying here.
Okay, we will now close our ditch authority meeting, and at this time, we are going to go into closed session. Let's wait till we clear the room. Okay. Now I will be opening our regular meeting at 11:23. And at this time, we would be looking to, hold on a second, I gotta get my points here. There we go. To consider and approve the direction from the closed session. So I would be looking, you said you had a crafted motion, Bruce? Okay, let's hear your crafted motion.
Thank you, Chair Danielowski, members of the commission. The suggested motion would be move to approve settlement in Nordby versus Sherburne County in the sum of $125,000 with a county contribution of $75,000 toward the settlement.
All right. I'd be looking for a motion to approve that. Motion made by Commissioner Brandt,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, thank you. At this time, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda would be Commissioner Correspondence. Who would like to start?
Madam Chair, I'm going to have to give mine at our next meeting. I'm unable to access my calendar right now for some reason, so.
And,
Commissioner Brandt.
yeah, on the 7th, I was at a CAMI meeting. On the 11th, the South River City Council had a meeting for the public to come in and see the 169 corridor. I attended that. And on the 12th, I went to the Healthy Minnesota Partnership meeting. And on the 13th, I went to the SCAT meeting, the concepts. And on the 14th, I went to a workshop in the morning, was stormwater. And on the 15th, we had COVID steering committee meeting for DHS. And on the 18th, we had a second strategic planning meeting to talk about recommendations.
Did you push the button?
Did you push the button?
No, I didn't.
Anybody having an issue?
No.
No. I
told
just
you.
learned about the button. Looking at the button.
Tested it.
I didn't push the button.
Thank you for showing
Anybody
up.
else?
Thank you.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Sorry.
Thanks for coming.
Told you it works.
Okay, Felix.
Yeah, who was it? Was Felix or Leanne or?
All right. Wasn't me. There was no buttons on my purview. All right. Okay, sorry, Commissioner Brandt.
I think did you get the last one about the strategic planning meeting yesterday?
Yeah, that's the last one I got. Was
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Attended Association of Township meeting and a strategic planning meeting on the 14th.
All right, Commissioner Phobie.
East Central Regional Juvenile Center meeting, and thank you to our county attorney for approving that joint powers agreement. That is all moving forward. We are reducing our beds. We're going down to one bed as a county, just Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. I had a Workforce Development Board meeting and a Government Relations meeting. Met with Livonia with Dan to talk broadband, the SCAT meeting, the Soil and Water Board and Workshop. Met with Baldwin to discuss broadband, and then Strategic Planning meeting, Pillar 1, and last night, the Water Plan Advisory Committee. And I will not be at the AMC district meeting this next Monday due to a family funeral.
Oh.
And I wanted to talk too about the AMC December board meeting, our board meeting on the 7th and the AMC conflict. So that's it for me.
For the conference, right?
Yes, for the conference.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Phobie. For myself, attended the ATP 3 planning meeting on October 7th. Had the mediation session on October 12th, for litigation. On the 13th, attended the City of Big Lake workshop with David Rodell, our assistant, I'm having a mind blank.
County engineer.
Thank you. For the workshop on County Road 43. Also attended the Association of Township meeting on the same day. On the 14th, had an APO meeting. And then also on the 13th, I attended the Blandon Conference broadband by Zoom. And that was it for me. Okay. Thank you for helping my mind blank there.
Just a reminder, too, that after the workshop, we do have the Bridgeview Park rededication. And Chair Danielewski, I think you're giving the welcome, and Keisha's got your talking points if you don't have them already. So.
Yep, thank you. All right, moving then to our next item on our agenda is adjourn our regular meeting and reconvene in our workshop. And are we going to be doing it in the back? Okay, so our regular meeting is adjourned.